right, everyone. So welcome to our Seac meeting for May the 12th, 2025. It is wonderful to see you all in person. We have our in-person meetings just a couple of times a year for Seac, so it's so wonderful to see everyone, your lovely faces in person, not in the little computer squares. We do not have quorum tonight, so we were just kind of waiting a minute or so. So we may adjust things as we're going on through the agenda, so if you could just bear with me for a moment as we kind of work through things. But we will start off this evening with our land acknowledgement of traditional territory, so I will start us off with that. The Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. Okay, so we do have a couple of regrets this evening, or a few. We have regrets from Trustee Jody Lloyd, Amanda Burton, Liz Hodgson, and Roseanne Marchetto. Welcome to our guests this evening. We have Marnie. I'm terribly sorry if I pronounce anyone's names wrong. I apologize. Marnie Hermistra. I can't even talk today. Sorry, Hermiston. Thank you. And Greg Pelka and Stephanie Vanderkooi, close, sorry, thank you. And Superintendent Fennell and Assistant Superintendent Dashney. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. All right, so next up on our agenda, we do have the Statement of Beliefs, which tonight we have Superintendent Jacobs for that.
Special Education Advisory Committee Statement of Beliefs is based on our belief in respect, leadership, integrity, collaboration, compassion, student-driven services, and the right of all students to be included. We advocate that all students have equitable opportunities to learn and participate in inclusive school communities. They are supported in developing and maintaining relationships and participating in freely chosen activities and groups that result in a sense of belonging. Students' unique learning styles are recognized and planned for in a caring and sensitive manner, enabling them to learn and participate with dignity and respect. Students' strengths and special education needs are identified and responded to early, as this is paramount to their growth and development. Based on best practices and research, the Simcoe County District School Board will adopt proactive, innovative practices to promote individual students' capacities and gifts while addressing their special education needs. Education services are delivered using a collaborative and flexible process centered on the strengths and needs of the students, inclusive of family, school, and community, and based on the best learning outcomes for the student. The student's voice is key to all decisions made on behalf and with the student.
Great, thank you very much, Superintendent Jacobs. Okay, so next up on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, but we do not have quorum at this time, so I am going to skip by that for now. Next would be the approval of the minutes. So I will skip by the approval of the minutes, but does anyone have any questions or comments on them? We could definitely discuss them if anyone has anything. No? Okay, easy enough. All right, I will not ask if anyone has a declaration of conflict of interest, so we'll move straight to presentations. So 1A, Special Olympics Ontario Sports Festival at the Scdsb, and I believe that Principal Blum is going to start us off this evening.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the committee. It's with great pleasure that I introduce our panel of presenters today who single-handedly organized this event, well, with Special Olympics Ontario, but from our board. These are our representatives. Marnie Hermiston has been on our central staff team for approximately 4 years, and before that she was a special education resource teacher for 8 years. In the middle there is Greg Pelka. He has been a CERT for approximately 6 years, 5 of which were in another board, and he joined our central team this year. So it's kind of, is this the end of your first year? Okay, perfect. And Greg Pelka is currently working around the Orillia area. Marnie, by the way, works largely in Innisfil and Bradford. And then Stephanie Vanderkooi is one of our special education resource teachers at Fieldcrest, where she has been a CERT for approximately 2 years. 2 years. This event was absolutely remarkable, and without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our panel to show us some really amazing footage and tell us all about the Special Olympics event.
Thank you, Principal Brom. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce us, as Linda already had, or Principal Blom has already done that. So this sports festival is a wonderful opportunity to promote inclusion, physical literacy, and community engagement. So our event was held on April 25th in the Bradford Sports Complex. The Aurelia Festival is tomorrow up in Aurelia at Twin? So unfortunately, we won't have any pictures tonight, but we do have pictures of our event. So to include the athletes then in our event, we had all students in grades 1. We invited all students in grade 1 to 8 with an intellectual disability. So we had 9 elementary schools attended the Bradford and Innisfil Sports Festival. So we had WH Day, Harvest Hills, Fieldcrest, Chris Hadfield, Marshview, Goodfellow, Innisfil Central, Killarney Beach, and Honorable Earl Rowe.
And then at our Aurelia Festival, which will be happening tomorrow, we have Couchiching Heights, Orchard Park, Upper Grove, Rama Central, Regent Park, Harriet Todd, and East Oro attending. And we have 87 students attending this event.
Do you want to do?
Okay, so some of the benefits of the students is just to develop from the sports standpoint, some of their fundamental movement skills and gain some of their confidence. We have a sense of belonging and a sense of teamwork that comes in there as well. We were able to offer opportunities at our event. We had our high school that kind of partnered with us, so they had lots of leadership opportunities for various classes, phys ed classes, some of our other the transition class that's coming out of BDHS that was in their groundworks year this year. They were able to participate and showcase some of their leadership skills, coming as official photographers for the events, which is how we have the documentation for the event this year. And just honestly creating that connection and bridging between the community, the schools, elementary schools, bridging to high school, just an opportunity to come together. And we opened it up for our families as well, which was beautiful, just to let our families come in and celebrate their children that we are advocating for and working with daily.
So we had an opening ceremony for the Bradford and Innisfil Sports Festival. We had the Bradford Mayor, James Leduc, came, and as well as our Superintendent of Special Education, Greg Jacobs, and Principal Linda Blom also attended our event. So we did also do our land acknowledgement. I chose to read the Bradford area land acknowledgement while we were there. And the mission we had was to enrich the lives of individuals with intellectual disabilities through sports. Do you want to talk about the venue?
So last year we did our venue at the high school, and we chose that location mostly because I teach out of Fieldcrest and it's right across the road. So it was a very quick one-stop shop to head over there. But our rec center, we're very fortunate the rec center is quite close to that proximity of the high school and our elementary school. So I reached out to the leisure center this year and threw it out there to see if they wanted to create a partnership. And then celebrate and create that central hub of having the event at their location, which was incredibly beneficial because it is fully accessible and it alleviated a lot of the other health concerns or some of the other challenges that we had had in the previous year. So we were able to have fully accessible washrooms, an event that was climatized, so we didn't have to worry about rain dates, but also excessive heat, because last year we had it in June, so it was quite a hot day. And then some of our students can't be out in the heat for that long. And it gave us a bit more flexibility of the day and the time too, because the timing of the year, June is very busy and very hectic, and a lot of other sports events are also simultaneously happening at that time. So it gave a different opportunity for us to have it a little bit earlier, which would attribute to supporting for busing and any other transportation challenges we had in the past. So that was a really great, successful partnership that we had this year.
And then this year, the Aurelia Festival will be held at Twin Lakes Secondary School, and we're very grateful to Twin Lakes, who's been an amazing host for our school. Not only have they been an amazing host, but in the process, they've just asked us, like, what else can we do? How can we make this event better? So it was amazing to have it on site at Twin Lakes. There are some challenges being in the high schools around, welcoming the public into their buildings, washrooms, things like that. So we did take a look at the rec center. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to book a spot, and we will consider that for next year. But being on site did provide us with some benefits. The leadership classes were participating. Their tech classes are building us games, and we'll man those games, as well as the hospitality class is providing pizzas. So those opportunities wouldn't have come up if we were doing it in the rec center. We did run the risk of it raining tomorrow, but the forecast looks great. So it is all going really well. So.
Thank you. So fortunately, as we have already discussed, we had a lot of volunteers. So we did have the Bradford Special Education Transitions Program. They were so helpful, and they had little lanyards that said they were the photographers, so they took iPads around and took pictures of the students of the events. And they also created some banners and some plaques for each school, which was awesome. And the BDHS leadership course, they also came, they led the games with the students. And we had the hospitality class. They came and provided some snacks. It wasn't free, but we did tell the students that they should bring some change and they could have some treats while they were there. Connor Goff was instrumental in helping me with busing. We were able to get busing. We had 2 buses, one from Innisfil and one for Bradford, to bring the students. We also had an accessible vehicle for a student that needed that as well. And Michael Gutta from Addictive Designs also created these T-shirts for us, so we were able to give each student a T-shirt. The Bradford Leisure Center was also there, as well as Greg has talked about Twin Lakes.
Yes, so as stated before, the construction class made some of the activities for us, as well as the hospitality class providing snacks. Their leadership groups, their peak group, will also be running the events tomorrow, which is great. So when the students arrive, student leaders will walk them to their areas where the Bradford Center made wonderful signs, and then those students will man each of our 8 events and run those events. So we're really creating a community between the high schools and the elementary schools, our neurotypical kiddos in our leadership roles, as well as our students with special needs, by creating these opportunities between the high schools and the elementary schools.
Do you want to talk about the T-shirts?
So this is the second year that we ran it out of Bradford, and both years Michael has offered to create these T-shirts. And how I got connected with Michael is mostly I just knock on people's doors and ask them if they want to help. So he very eagerly got excited and said he wanted to be a part last year. And this year, his request was that he could be in part, but bigger. So I said, okay, so would you like to be at the event and hand out the T-shirts? And so he showed up and he had a massive sign for his station for the T-shirts. He had gone to Tim Hortons and got smile cookies for every participant that was there. He had the T-shirts that were already there that I had taken the day before and divided up between each schools. And then he came with stickers, participation stickers. So it was just a real testament to the community coming together with the schools uniting for one common goal, which is that every child has an opportunity, right? And that is seen, that is valued. And it was really demonstrated through his giving nature and his continually giving nature and going bigger each time. Yeah, sure. So the Special Olympics is really, they're fantastic with the way that they help set up these events. They have the events, they take it, they run with it, and they'll cater it however you're hoping the vision to look. So we had a variety in the gym of different stations that were set up. We had cornhole, soccer, bocce ball, basketball. There was some mini golf, bowling, and then some ladder ball. And there's different opportunities for obstacle courses as well. So at this age and stage, it's just exposure and participation and enjoyment, however that may look. Whether it's 5 minutes, we leave. We actually had a sensory room that was set up in the gym or in the facility as well. So it really did cater to participation, however that looks, with frequent breaks for whatever that particular student may need. Mm-hmm.
So our Aurelia group had 82 elementary students and leadership students from OSS, as well as the 2 classes that we're assisting, which are the tech and hospitality classes, as well as 2 student photographers.
So again, we had 77 elementary students, 36 leadership students from BDHS, and 3 students that were in the tech hospitality classes that helped with the food. We had some media coverage, so the Bradford Today came, and in the PowerPoint there is a link to the article that he wrote, and it was very complimentary, and Stephanie participated in that as well, so we were very fortunate. And Aurelia Matters is coming, I'm sure, to do the same.
They'll be there tomorrow.
So we just wanted to highlight the collaboration, and it really was a collaboration of multiple groups of people just to support us and the students, to bring them in and give them an opportunity and a place for them to shine. And it really was wonderful to see the smiles, and even the student leadership team, when they came, they just loved being there to help the students. It was amazing. So we were very grateful that Bradford participated in that with us.
Also, I just want to take a minute or two to touch on our secondary qualifier events that are happening in the board. In my journey into Special Olympics, this is where I first kind of landed and came to learn that we have a couple of all-star teachers in the secondary panel as well, one from Bear Creek Secondary School and one from Innisdale Secondary School. And those schools are actually hosting qualifier events for our high school unified championships, where special education, or students with special education needs compete with students who are neurotypical on the same teams with different schools, and they can qualify for the provincial qualifiers. The 4 sports that they play are basketball, bocce, floorball, which is kind of like floor hockey, and soccer. So Bear Creek is hosting bocce, or did, and Innisdale hosted floorball, which is excellent, and attended all 4 events. Really cool this year was also that basketball was hosted at Georgian College, which was a great opportunity for the kids. And we had 1 new school participant with some encouragement. So Nantyre Shores joined as our 3rd school participating in our secondary qualifier events, as well. Bradford is saying that they will participate next year. In speaking with Special Olympics Ontario, we highlighted that we're kind of lacking for these types of opportunities in the north. They let us know that, like, we're happy to host an event, but we need the schools. So a goal for next year will, because we need the schools, we'll have to kind of reach out a little bit further if we wanted to have one in the northern end of the board, but look at inviting some schools from the Simcoe Muskoka board, as well as our Catholic and French schools, to have an inclusive event for students with special needs, so that we're able to host something in the north.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So that's the end of our presentation.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation. That was so wonderful. I love this time of year when all the events and everything start happening and we get to see all this great stuff coming together. So thank you so much for your hard work. I can just imagine how much work there is to put something like this together. So thank you so much for your dedication to our students. I was writing down a couple things. I love the community involvement that you spoke of. That's amazing on so many levels. And I really love that you had a sensory room for kids to kind of have a moment to chill if they need to. So thank you for your attention to our students' needs. That's wonderful. I'll open up to the table. Does anyone have any questions or comments for our presenters? Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a very large advocate for Special Olympics. I coach with 2 alpine ski teams, and I do golf in the summer. And whenever I'm at a provincial event, or a national event, or a regional event, one of the mucky mucks in the organization always comes up to me and says, "Kevin, why is Simcoe County so bad at involving us in their schools?" And for years that was a complaint, so it's really nice to see some people stepping up and bringing them in. They're a fabulous resource, and that's just scratching the surface. I notice it's at the elementary level. Special Olympics, the eligibility age is, I believe, 8, I think. So it's grade 3, I believe, is when you can start with Special Olympics. The vast majority of people get involved in high school. And as a coach, last year one of my athletes was 63 years old and still racing downhill. It's probably one of the best transitions to life programs that's available to the community, to the neurologically diverse community. And I would love to see the board reach out even more, because there are the winter sports. They do these things year round. And to use it as a way of giving more to our students as they get older, something to look forward to, something to move on with, right? So they don't graduate from our schools to their parents' big couch in the basement, right? And Special Olympics, I believe a number of years ago I read a statistic that almost 80% of the adult athletes in Special Olympics have some form of employment, right? Which is remarkable, and they do that because they gain the skills, right? To operate on their own, to operate in busy environments. So thank you very much for all the work you've done, and I'm going to harass everybody here to do more, right? To do a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know often with any initiative, there's so many things that we can be doing all the time. Like there's a million opportunities, and it just takes someone to champion those. So, which is why I'm so thankful to each of the 3 of you that have obviously taken on this big job and put it forward for our students. So thank you very much. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments? All right. I just think you filled our buckets for the evening. So thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for coming and being in person with us as well. Thank you. Okay. All right, so moving on in our agenda, we'll move to D, items for information. So we have no follow-up from previous meetings. We do have some staff reports. So 2A, we have student achievement plan, public reporting, and stakeholder consultation. So I believe Principal Francis is going to introduce our guests and topic this evening.
It is my very great pleasure to introduce Kristen Muscat-Fennell, who is our Superintendent of Education for Area D, also our board lead for mathematics, science, and AI, and also Assistant Superintendent of Education, Robin Dashney, who supports the Associate Director with the portfolios of student achievement and mental health and well-being. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, and good evening. So Assistant Superintendent Dashney and I are here this evening to be able to share with you an overview, a snapshot of our 24-25 Student Achievement Plan. For those of you who were with Seac last year, you might recall we did this online where we came and shared the plan because we're really seeking some feedback. So we will share with you this evening a mechanism to be able to gather your feedback, gather your comments and questions near the end of this presentation. This is just a little bit of a background, and this presentation will be shared with you as well. In July of 2023, the Ministry of Education released a memorandum, and this was to support the implementation of the Better Schools and Student Outcomes Act. This act established provincial priorities for student achievement. including achievement of learning outcomes in core academic skills, preparation of students for future success, and student engagement and well-being. In April of this year, the Ministry of Education released a revised, standardized, and pre-populated student achievement plan framework, and this helps to support the reporting of board data and our action plans related to student achievement. The Student Achievement Plan is posted for the public on the website, the Scdsb website, and it includes an email for stakeholders who wish to provide feedback on this plan. The plan's also being shared this evening with the Equity Advisory, Safe Schools, and Parent Involvement Committees as well, and members are invited to share their feedback. I think it's important to share with you that we're giving you a snapshot. This plan includes highlights of some of the key actions and strategies that are being implemented within Simcoe County to support these outcomes. They are not a fulsome list of absolutely everything that's happening, but again, really the key measures and strategies. So in speaking about core academic skills and related to literacy and mathematics learning, we start with a pre-populated template with EQAO measures. And we know that our reading and writing for grade 3 and 6 students continues to improve as students go from grade 3 to 6 to 9, where on the OSSLT, students are achieving very close to provincial average. We had some success to be able to report with math last year. We were one of a few boards in the province that were able to some improvement in grade 3, 6, and 9 math. Small improvement, but we will celebrate every last percentage. So in grades 3 and 9, we realized a 1% improvement. A lot of our work was around supporting in the junior division. So grade 6 is where we saw a 3% bump with that. And we are still very much focused in grades 6 and 9. So to support some of the key strategies are instructional reading facilitators in schools supporting the screening of all kindergarten to grade 2 students in reading, system-wide learning focused on responsive instruction and interventions to maximize reading and writing skills, educator learning to support the implementation of the grade 9 D-streamed English, supported by a secondary district literacy facilitator. And then in math, we have math instruction and assessment facilitators in elementary and secondary schools. And a big part of their focus is on what we call high-impact instructional practices. And one of those practices is small group responsive instruction. We have also spent a significant amount of time this year working with all schools, elementary and secondary, on universal design for learning strategies, which help to support access to math for all learners. And an example of that would be a multiple means of engagement. So students would access math through an open question or a parallel task, and what that means is the question would be open so that students would have access into it. So they may come with different thoughts about a particular problem or a particular question, but one that would be accessible to all learners. We are also working on tools and representations. So when we're thinking about multiple means of representation as a UDL strategy, supporting students in all of our grades in elementary and secondary with using tools and resources. And that could look like base 10 blocks. It could be a number line, something like that. And also supporting action and expression, so multiple means. And an example might be pre-teaching some math vocabulary, just some of the key concepts, which we know also really supports our multilingual learners as well, but being able to pre-teach some of that vocabulary, having the vocabulary in the environment of the classroom, so that when students are tackling challenging questions and problems, that they have these resources available to them. So again, this is a highlight of some of the key strategies that we are using in literacy and mathematics to support improved student outcomes in these skills.
So this next slide continues to focus on achievement of learning outcomes in core academic skills. When we compare the data in these specific areas to last year's student achievement plan, which can be found on the board's website, and we'll be directing you to that location later on, we're starting to close the gap between Simcoe County District School Board and the province in graduation rates and preparing our students for future success. So programs such as Specialist High School Major, Dual Credit, the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, as well as School Within a College programs are gaining traction with more students taking part and indicating that these programs have been helpful in moving towards graduation. So this school year, we have a higher number of students who are getting involved in these programs, which is sending on the course to graduation. So we're very optimistic about participation in those programs. Transition supports between elementary and secondary school, such as elementary student success teacher supports, as well as transition visits, activities, and meetings are providing students and families with the support that is needing. And we're also being intentional in supporting ML families and students in these types of meetings as well. Graduation coaches and itinerant resource teachers, specifically in the area of math and science, are also available to students and staff, and these resources have been identified as key contributors to their success. On the next slide, there is a focus on improving students' participation in class time and learning. When we compare the attendance rates from this data set to last year's student achievement plan, we've made some significant gains. We are also starting to close the gap in our suspension rates when comparing to the province. Student attendance continues to be a priority for Simcoe County District School Board. To support the mental health and well-being of our students, we are providing support through a wide range of professionals and paraprofessionals. This includes social workers, child youth workers, graduation coaches, student advisors, attendance counselors, and other educators. Elementary and secondary schools have created student and staff well-being ambassador roles to promote Tier 1 and Tier 2 practices and resources outlined by School Mental Health Ontario with a focus on student voice. So really determining from our students what they need in terms of mental health support and well-being supports in the school. Simcoe County District School Board has also created a campaign to highlight the importance of daily attendance to families, and this will be something that we continue to work on as a school board moving forward. So while there have been some gains made, there's still a lot of work to be done, which includes partnering with families to help guide this work. And we're hopeful that you'll provide us with some feedback to this year's student achievement plan through this consultation process. So I'll turn it back over to Superintendent Fennell, who will walk you through how you can provide your feedback, and we're hopeful that you will.
Thank you. So you will receive the slide deck, and in the slide deck you have a couple of options. There's a QR code if you prefer to offer feedback through your phone or a device. I'm going to click here just so that you can see what we're asking for. I will share that last year we had a feedback form that might have had 9 or 10 questions, and We found that some of the feedback on the feedback form was that it was a little bit confusing. So we have tried to make this a little bit more simple in being able to hear your questions, comments, and feedback on the plan. So it looks like this. Maybe which group? So it would be Special Education Advisory Committee. And then the questions are such as, please use this space to share any comments or feedback that you may have about the SCDSB's actions to improve student achievement in literacy or math. And then the next question focuses about or asks for your questions or comments related to the Student Achievement Plan's actions to prepare students for future success. And then the final question directly related to outcomes are around enhancing student engagement and well-being. And of course, there's an open question at the end if you have anything else that you would like to share. So this will be open. We are hopeful that if you choose, we would invite you to be able to share feedback in hopes over the next couple of weeks that you might have a little bit of time and be able to share feedback. And we are collecting it from many stakeholders, and we'll use that to help to inform our ongoing planning.
Great, thank you so much. That was quite a beautiful, simplified overview of a lot of really amazing work. There's a lot of things that the board does lumped into what you had described there. So thank you very much. All right, do we have any questions or comments from the table? Kevin, go ahead.
I couldn't actually see the stats because my vision is going me getting old, and there wasn't a slide here to read close up. But you were mentioning the improvements you're making in suspension rates and graduation rates, et cetera, et cetera. I'm wondering, do you track them by region of the board? Because the first question that comes to mind is demographics. One of the reasons we have one of the lower graduation rates and some of the higher suspension rates is because of our rural communities, our diverse needs. Simcoe County is becoming much more urbanized and much more like York region when you're talking about Barrie and south into Bradford and the south end, Innisfil. It hasn't changed north of Aurelia or up Collingwood Way. It's pretty much the same, right? So do we know whether the improvements we are making are due to our fine efforts or they're simply due to demographic changes? That's just something to look into. I mean,
thank you, and through you, Chair, to the table. Thank you for posing that question and that wondering. One thing that I think would be very important to share is that schools receive school-specific data. So as a system, we look at data, and when the ministry is collecting data to measure how each board across the province is doing, they're looking at that holistically. When individual schools look at their data, they each have data stories, and when they are setting goals for their school action and equity plans, they are looking at their individual graduation rates. They are looking at their students and the demographics of their students, and they are looking at trends in their achievement data. And so they're working to set very responsive goals that align with board and ministry priorities, but are very specific to the needs within their school population, and then measuring outcomes. So the actions and strategies that they're working on very much align with what you see in the action plan here. However, there are some specific nuances to each individual school, and then that data is tracked by school.
Follow-up. So to be precise, when it gets reported back to the board and you give the snapshots, are you breaking it down to the decision makers, like at the central level? And that's really what I'm concerned about. I mean, as a committee, our job is to advise the board as a whole. And the administration as a whole is serving the entire board. If the statistics you're showing them are not broken down, then essentially they have a very hard time seeing where they're actually succeeding and failing. And that's my major concern in such a diverse board here, is that a snapshot number is not reflective of what's actually going on, because certain areas of the county are getting richer, certain aren't. And those are going to reflect our numbers and our progress. And we may be patting ourselves on the back for something we're not doing. And that's really my major concern, that the board and the decision makers get the information they need to make real decisions, as opposed to a nice figure to report to the government. But thanks.
Superintendent, did you have a response to that?
Sure, thank you. Through you, Chair, to the table. I appreciate that in the purpose of this evening, and I do understand that we do have an overall system piece. I can assure you that the senior team and superintendents and our central principals and our school-based principals, who also share that with their navigation teams right in schools, have really clear data that's very specific to their needs and their population. So there may be differing needs school to school based just what you said. It could be a little bit of geography. There are many things that contribute to the data of a school, but in order to be very specific as far as what are the supports and what's needed, and I'll give you one example of that because mathematics is in my portfolio. We work together with the ministry to identify priority schools across the board based on achievement data in mathematics. So that helps us to highlight where are those needs. It's very much focused right now, and this is again ministry directed in grade 3, 6, and 9 classrooms, but then that is how our math instruction and assessment facilitators are assigned additional supports. So when we have our Math Achievement Action Plan, we support with intensive support in certain schools that need that boost, but we also support all schools with a number of our strategies as well. So that would be intentional planning and using that data to lift all.
Thank you. Follow up? You're good? Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? All right. I don't see any at this time. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. Okay. That's right. All right. So that takes us on our agenda to 2B, Seac Consultation and Special Education Plan with Principal Francis.
Thank you very much. Through you, Chair, to the committee. It is my great pleasure to share a little bit of an update around our special education plan. And I first of all want to, in this update, thank everybody who is here and those members of the committee as well who could not be here, who gave us some feedback and some guidance through this process. That is really very much appreciated. And so I know we had an in-person meeting here at the Education Center, and we also have had some feedback provided through email, and that is all very much appreciated as part of creating this plan. So this year we note that there are some very minor changes if you look at this plan, and that really is intentional because we want to consider the things that have been going very well and consider what things we can tweak to improve, but not looking at sweeping changes. So you'll note only minor changes in the special education plan. One of the changes you may note is the change in title for our registered behavior analysts and behavior support workers. And that change in title really is based on recommendations from their college. So some of the change in title is there to reflect that. But otherwise, I am happy to answer any questions or have any feedback at this time.
Thank you very much, Principal Francis. All right, any questions or comments on the special education plan? Kevin, go ahead.
It's either you or me right away. I know.
One or the other. took me a while to read it all over because it's a long document and there are not that many changes, which is probably a good thing. It's mainly replacing child with student and little things like that we missed the last time we went through all this. And it's a good plan. My issue with the special education plan has always been, how well do we follow it? So I'm all in favor of recommending, yes, this plan should be passed by the board. It's a good plan. But a number of years ago, I brought up the issue of testing. And we were actually doing, our pyramid scheme was actually on its head, right? The lower tests were actually at a much lower number than the more expensive tests. That's improved over the years, and that's a good thing. But there's a number of things that I wonder about how well we're doing. One that struck me was IEPs. And it says, for the short-term goals, SMART goals are, I believe they said, recommended best practice. Almost every time I've asked for a SMART goal for an IEP, I've been told that we no longer do those at this board. So there's been some misinformation. We kind of need to audit whether our special education plan, which is good, is being followed. And I think that's really what the emphasis next year should be, not on reinventing the wheel, but to make sure that the gospel gets out to the hinterland, right? That people are actually aware of what we're supposed to be doing. Because when I get out there, I'm often shocked at some of the misinformation that's out there, and that we're spending all this time going over words, but we may not be getting the word out. And that's my major concern. But other than that, very good job on the special education plan to everybody involved. And I think it was well done. Thanks.
Thank you. Response?
Thank you, through you, Chair, to the committee. I appreciate the question and the sentiment that's behind it. And I think it is important to note that when we do have new people coming into our system, and we do have an awful lot of new special education resource teachers, new administrators, that it is really important to make sure that these messages are shared. And that is a big responsibility from our central team. So I'm thankful for our family of schools consultants and facilitators, people like Mitch Ferry, who's here, who go out and host those family of schools meetings to make sure that there's consistent messaging. And so to your point, can we do better? Yes. And so the feedback is appreciated, to note that those things like family of schools meetings are important, that ensuring that those consistent messages are shared and monitored is also important. We share those that I know Superintendent Jacobs is very good about this, about sharing this at our school leaders meetings. There is always, something of a special education nature on that agenda or update in terms of operational items for administrators. So it is very much about that communication of that message, and I think it's important that we continue to do that consistently and regularly. So thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Kevin, follow up?
Yeah, one follow-up, and I appreciate that. One of the things that's often lacking is a quantitative way of measuring how well we're doing. And that's hard to do. Like, SMART goals are hard to write because you got to think about them. And we really need to start thinking about, are we doing what we think we're doing? Because, for the last 15 years I've been sitting on this panel here, there's been a lot of great things done. And a lot of great people have put a lot of hard work into things. But are we succeeding? Are we keeping up? Are we dropping the ball when we're not looking? And I think that might be what the next review of our special education plan is how do we do?
Thank you. We had that discussion at our board table as well. I believe at the end, so we had a lot of change in special education this year. I remember it was Trustee Bites that had brought it up, and Superintendent Samus, and they had talked about doing an IEP audit. And I know she had brought it up again this year, but we did have a very big year of transition. But I believe that has been done within our board in the past as an IEP audit. So I know that that is something that the Board of Trustees was talking about, that would be something that would be very beneficial going forward, because I do think it's been a very long time since that happened. So I'm sure we can pick up that conversation as well. So thank you, Kevin. Okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Any other comments or questions about the special education plan? Okay. I just wanted to say, yes, thank you so much to everyone that put so much work into it. I really appreciate how much work goes into this plan every year. When I see tiny words tweaked here and there, I know that that means that there have been a lot of eyes on there and a lot of people putting a lot of work into it. So I really, really do appreciate that. As a trustee, when I have policies come to me, sometimes what I'll do is I'll go to another board and I look at their comparable policies, because I want to see how other boards are doing things. I want to see if we're doing it the same, if there's better ways, and all those types of things. So I do the same with special education plans. And I will say, I was reading another board's special education plan. I've been on this committee a long time. I feel like I know special education somewhat well, and I know my Education Act well. I had to pull out the Education Act and read it alongside this board's another board's special education plan. And that is not what we want for our families. We do not want a parent who is already stressed and struggling to have to look up an Education Act to understand what it says in a document like this. So I very much appreciate that ours is readable, understandable, and family and parent friendly. So so that is my big thank you for this year for that part of it there. So, all right. Before we move on, any other questions or comments then? All right, not seeing any. Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, so next up on our agenda would be committee reports, which we have none. So that would take us to Seac member updates. Anyone have any association updates for us? I know there's lots of fun stuff going on at this time of year. As soon as the sunshine comes out, everybody's doing lots of great stuff, right? Anyone have anything they'd like to share? Andrea, you look like you're reaching. Go for it.
Thank you. So I'm just looking it up. I sent some information to Lori earlier in the week. CAPC, which is the community participation group, is offering free dental screening and care geographically throughout the county. So Lori will send that out, and I think that was really the big thing. 0 to 6 years of age. Families can take their kiddos to free dental screening, and it's a bit of an interactive day. They're going to have some fun, some activities, games, and then the kiddos can have their teeth checked for nothing. So look for that in the package when Lori sends the information out. I sent that to her, and hopefully you can pass that out and share that with your schools.
What a fabulous resource. Thank you very much for sharing. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Anything else? Of course. Yeah.
So the question I have is, when I have something like that, is it okay for me to send it out to the committee ahead of time? It was sort of date dependent, and I know you were having a great holiday, and I think that that's so important, and I just wondered if it would be appropriate for me to send it out to the group separate, so that, because I think one of the dates might be like tomorrow, or it's upcoming. Is that an appropriate thing to do? I just didn't want to overstep.
Sure. My initial thought would be, yes, Lori would be the first go-to. She was on vacation. I'm sure there was someone probably covering for you that could have picked it up there. My next thought would be, you could always send to the chair. We could always double check with superintendent to make sure. I'm sure what you're sending through is fine. But just so we don't get ourselves caught in anywhere, that if it comes through the chair, then they could check with the superintendent and then go out to the committee that way. Sound good? Oh, sorry. Kevin, please go ahead.
I mean, historically, there's been no restrictions on that. It used to be that, yes, it makes a lot more sense, right, to send it through Lori, so don't make sure it gets out to everybody. But also make sure that you don't actually send your family vacation photos by mistake. Right? But I don't personally see any reason why, if someone's not available and it's time limited, that you send out a little bit of information. If you're going to say something at the meeting tonight, something came in, I don't see why we shouldn't be able to openly communicate with each other, because the emails to the group are not public information. Right? It's not like you're spreading something out into the community. You're simply saying to the members of this committee, this is what I want to discuss, or to members of this committee, this is some information that I have. And I really don't know if we need to bog down things too heavily, but probably going through Lori would be the best starting point.
Thank you. Of course, I would always go to Lori first, but my immediate thought after that was, oh, I see she's away, and it's not an emergency, right? So I don't need whoever's taking over your position while you're on holidays to be bogged down with extra things. So that's really good to know. So that's sort of the process I will take moving forward. But thank you for just giving me those answers. I appreciate that.
My initial response is that like overcautious trustee one, but I totally am on board with what Kevin says. Okay.
And I do appreciate Lori does a lot. She did go on a nice holiday, but we do always have coverage as well. So if not Lori, to myself or whoever as the first line, but by all means, and we check things whenever things kind of, not for this committee, like checking things, but before it goes out to the system, we usually have several sets of eyes on it. But always think of Lori's. She's my first go-to as well, so always consider her as first.
Another thing that less often now, but the group mail used to be a way that we communicated with each other to discuss ideas in a format that could not be discussed in the more formal environment of a meeting, because everything has to go through the chair. You can't sort of just send off the note, right? That's why our emails are there. That's why they're on the website, so we can actually talk to each other and that the public can talk to us. I really wouldn't want to overly restrict our ability to send an email saying, hey, listen, this came up. What do you think? Right? As well as, oh, I've got an event. Maybe your people will be interested in it. So I really don't think we need to be that formal, because we're not putting it out. It's simply communication between a group.
Great. Okay. Good discussion. Thank you very much. All right. So no other Seac member updates at this time. Chair Powell, I'll come to you for a board update. Sorry, I didn't talk to you about that ahead of time. Is that all right?
That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
3 years into the committee, a few things have happened at the board in the last month. At the last board meeting, we had revisions to the Director of Education Performance Review and Procedure. So that's our DPA committee, and the revisions were made, and we had a Trustee Strawn elected as the chairperson of that committee, and we had our first meeting. So that's somewhat exciting, because there's been a lot of changes to the legislation with respect to that. There was a large transfer of unappropriated surplus, around $750,000, because of the storms and all the damage that was done. So it's good that our board has that kind of money to spend in a situation, because we went through, especially the north end of Simcoe, went through a lot of problems with the power and the schools being closed. And also we voted our voting delegates for the OPSPA Board of Directors. Trustee Lloyd was voted as our voting delegate, and our alternate, I believe, was Trustee Rafiq. And at the last meeting we had Mr. Ma, a teacher from Ardell Bluffs Elementary School, for the trustee tribute. I'd say a champion in special education. I have personal experience with his ability to run the Learning Center years ago, and just an incredible man. So it was really nice to see that he was spoken of nicely, and he was given a tribute, which I think he really deserves, and he's a champion for special education, in my opinion. So that's basically what happened at the board over the last month or so. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, we had our golden buzzer a little bit early tonight with our wonderful video that we had there. So then that would take us to correspondence, which we have done. Do we have any other matters? Anyone have anything you wanted to ask about, talk about that we haven't come up with so far? Okay, all right. Any notice of motion for next meeting? Not seeing any, which actually I just remembered that we have no quorum, so we don't need notice of motion anyway. And then so adjournment would be next. And like I said, we actually don't have quorum, so we don't even need a mover. I will just say thank you very much. We are adjourned.
What am I gonna do?
All right, thank you everyone. It was very nice to see everyone in person. We are unofficially adjourned.